Hey everybody, Mags here. We are going to review some of the hints and tips that we've been given this year on the Dynasty Hot Seat. If you are new here, do me a favor, can you like, comment, share on this video for me, please, like you can see here. And then also, if you're new here, why not hit that subscribe button too? It really helps out. Right, on to the hints and tips.
So I have two different things that I talk about every year when dynasty season arrives and we're about to kick everything off. And one of them is stabilize your future, because the length of a quarterback's value, right? The length of a franchise quarterback who you know is going to be a stud is so much longer now than what it was back 10 years ago, right? Like, sure, we did have like the Ben Roethlisberger, to an extent. Philip Rivers was great. But for the most part, you're talking about, anywhere from 8 to 12 years of a franchise quarterback back 10 years, 15 years, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Now it's actually extended to be close to 18 or 20 years is what we could see. We could see Patrick Mahomes being a QB1 every single season from now until he turns, 40 years old.
Yeah.
That's 17, 18 years of having fertility from the quarterback position. And then you have guys like maybe Trevor Lawrence or, Trey Lance, somebody like that, where you're going to get Justin Herbert 15, 20 years out of the quarterback position. And that's 15 or 20 years, or I should say that's anywhere from 8 to, maybe 10 years longer than you would get previously. So I think that quarterbacks are tremendously undervalued, especially in single quarterback leagues when it comes to getting your guys. So stabilize your future. That way you don't have to worry about drafting quarterbacks. If a quarterback falls to you in a rookie draft, that's great. Then you end up getting a value, but you don't have to reach for a quarterback. Like this year, if Kenny Pickett, right, who was selected beyond every single quarterback in 2021, right? If he was going in last year's draft, and let's just say Superflex draft, he would be going probably after Zach Wilson or after Mac Jones, depending on which one of those guys went last, right?
Yeah.
And those guys were going in the second round of 2 quarterback leagues last year. It was like the 201, 202, 203, somewhere in that range. Kenny Pickett's going at like the 6th overall pick this year.
Yeah.
Because teams need quarterbacks. So they're reaching for a guy who would have gone probably late second round in 2021. Just because teams need quarterbacks to stabilize your future, so you don't have to freak out and reach for those positions. You can continuously take shots at other positions, and that way you don't have to be wrong on the quarterback position. Because guess what? Most people that are drafting Kenny Pickett are likely going to be selected a quarterback again within 2 to 3 years. Stabilize your future, get your quarterback.
Yeah,
the other one
it.
is getting on the bell curve of production. It's something that I've harped on. I don't even know if the term makes sense, but it makes sense in my head because I coined it. So it's essentially you know how like teachers, they grade on a curve, right? They try and get everybody, the same grade based off of whatever the curve is. Well, if you end up trying to get your players right, and you try and get a player who is, let's just say you draft a 26-year-old running back, and you're drafting maybe rookie wide receivers, or even a 24-year-old running back, and you're drafting a 21-year-old wide receiver, that typically isn't going to end up meshing well, because by the time that the wide receiver gets into his prime, you're talking about a running back that you now have to move on from. And you typically ruin your opportunity to draft a guy early on in the first round next year, where it's very strong with the rookie running back class. You ruined your chance because you had a running back in his prime, and you had a rookie wide receiver who was good enough to keep you out of last place. So now you're going to end up needing a running back, which means you're going to have to pay up for one. Instead, what you need to do is, if you're drafting and you say take some, younger rookie wide receivers, you should also stay away from running backs, like almost completely. That way you don't end up ruining your opportunity. Maybe you should take some handcuffs, guys like James Robinson, or maybe a Tyler Algier, somebody along those lines, where you can trade them off and get value. But that way you're not wasting your draft picks and your ability to lose to get a first overall pick or second overall pick or third overall pick. Meanwhile, you end up getting assets more because you're trading away values. So don't waste your early picks on older running backs if you have young wide receivers. And if you end up having older wide receivers, then you need the young running backs, right? So you want to try and get everybody that's going to produce at their prime within a certain time period. Don't waste your time being stuck in the middle. Don't waste your time trying to push a team through that probably will not win a championship. Sure, you can get lucky one year, but there's a lot bigger chance that you'll get unlucky than you'll get lucky. You'll deal with some injuries, and your team's not going to make it. Try to get everybody on the same level of production when they're going to be in the peak, versus trying to piece together a team that might end up having a chance of winning.
Yeah, I think that is so important. Like,
and just wait for those like the stars to align, kind of, right? You're like this is my chance, and really like jump on it then as well. And if I don't think I'm going to win in the next 2 years, I'm selling every running back I have. I'm just like, get them off my team, because they're going to be gone by the time I'm ready to win anyway. So yeah, just get rid of them, and I'll replace them later. So I think that's really, really strong advice, and allow your team to understand when those, like, what do you call it again? Sorry,
the bell curve of production.
The bell curve of production, yeah, exactly. Just making sure that everyone is at their prime, ready to go, and understanding that it can be quite tricky, because obviously a 24-year-old running back isn't the same as a 24-year-old wide receiver, and definitely isn't the same as a 24-year-old quarterback. So it's understanding, when players will hit their different peaks and troughs. So I absolutely love that as advice, Chase. It's absolutely brilliant. And yeah, do you have any more tips for us, or we're gonna get into the heat of this?
We can go into this. I can talk all day about dynasty strategy, but essentially, I think the last thing is and people talk about this way too prematurely, is like selling players before they end up hitting their prime, so that way you return value. Sure, you can always stack and you can always build, but a lot of these dynasty leagues, I mean, everyone that I've been in has lasted for at least 3 to 4 seasons minimum. And they're still going. Like I haven't had a dynasty league that I've gotten out of yet, or that has folded, but I know that a lot of these dynasty leagues that you're not close with, like people you're not tight with or whatever the case is, they end up folding after like 3 to 4 seasons. So trying to prematurely sell a guy when he's about to hit his peak is sometimes asinine, and ends up creating volatility with your roster. What people don't realize is if you win for like 2 seasons, right? Let's say you get first place for 2 seasons, that essentially buys you like 8 to 10 years in your league, sometimes 12, depending on what first place gets. Even second place, if you get second place twice, it'll buy you 5 or 6 years in your league, like in league entry fees, for you to be able to float in the future. So if you can win, and you can go out and you can win now, then just go take that money, that while you can, and then just go rebuild your team the next year. Like you don't need to sell right away. Like you don't need to get the most amount of value, because you're winning money to buy you into the future. So I know that people like to try and get ahead of the curve and make sure they always have players going into their prime, and all of a sudden they have the most dominant roster, but that could take 8 to 10 years to do so.
Yeah.
So don't sell too soon. Don't sell in their prime. Get the prime out of them. Sure, you might end up moving from 2 first-round picks down to 1 first-round pick or something, but guess what? You have a 50% chance of hitting on a first-round pick anyways. Yeah. So, I mean, like, and that hit might not be as good as what the player you would have gotten in the prime is. I understand trying to get off an asset before it depreciates. But I think there's a premature point where it's like, hey, you still want to win money. You still want to try and win at least 1 year, maybe 2. Don't move it just to get off of a depreciating asset. Like, I get selling stocks and all that, but if you can cash in while you can cash in, I'd rather do that.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to ride players out, right? You just got to take them into the sunset, and, know that by the time they're done, they've won you some championships, and that's really what matters.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
Thank you so much for watching today's video. Remember, like this video, leave a comment if you want, and subscribe to the channel. These videos are going to be coming thick and fast, so you don't want to miss anything. So that's it for today. In the meantime, keep yourselves, keep your teams lit. We'll see you next time.